Yeah, so first and foremost, I want to introduce Bomi.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Bomi Salu, popularly called Bomi. Everybody, knows me as Bomi. I am, of course, married with 3 children who are all adults as well now. I have worked in, various, I've been in leadership roles cutting across several decades, and I have a love for cooking. I have run a restaurant in the past in my local area. I live in Essex in England, in a little place called Chafford-on-Dread, a beautiful community. So I have had a Nigerian restaurant in the past. It was a takeaway and seating place. Due to so many other reasons, we shut that down. However, and that was probably over 10 years ago now. However, I cook all the time. My friends and family comment on my cooking, and so I can't get away from it. Hence, I have started a little cooking from home, cooking for friends and family again, and even people I don't know. I have a presence on Instagram called Boms Cooking. I see myself as a cooking coach, and I believe in the simplicity of cooking. My passion is to get the younger ones into cooking and not be scared of cooking, to make it not complicated. That's me.
Thank you, Bomi. On my former life, I was an Essex boy. Oh. I was making in those ends. And finally, but not last, honestly, I want to introduce Tumi. I know on the advertisements we say Edna, who was going to represent Ghana, but unfortunately Edna can't make it. And in place of Edna is Tumi, the legendary Tumi from Afrocaster. And basically he will do a slightly different twist. They're both Nigerian, but Tumi is going to bring us more of a vegan flavor of the jollof rice. Over to you, Tumi.
Hello, Chimai. Thank you very much, Fadhili. Yes, my name is Tumi Williams. I am a creative. I moved to Cardiff about 16 years ago. I'm based in Cardiff to study fine art. And over the years, I've been involved in music. I've been a musician and toured extensively with the 90s Afro funk sort of hip hop band called Afro Cluster. And yeah, I've done that up until before lockdown. And during that time touring with the band, I have been on different experiences, including doing a cooking stage show in a Born Man Taste the World stage about 2 years ago. I grew up I'm Nigerian. I grew up taking care of my younger ones when my parents were out working. So my mum was always like, you have to be in the kitchen. It's male or female, doesn't matter. You have to go up and be in the kitchen, So I grew up around jollof rice, around African music, around high life music, around that kind of vibe. And then me, jollof has been a kind of part of my genes, I guess. So I started this event last year in Cardiff, which is called JOLLOF House Party, where I was trying to introduce more people from Wales to this traditional dish. And through lockdown, I started this takeaway business, which is pretty much just jollof house party, as taken on from the event I was putting on, and it's vegan. It's my love for food. I love cooking. In fact, that's one of the things. Anytime anyone gets into my house, the first thing I say is, "Are you hungry?" Even before I say, "Do you want to drink?" So cooking is part of my sort of way of sharing moments and memories. That's me.
Thank you to me. As you said earlier, basically, like, you used to look after your brothers and cooking. Similar thing to me as well. I remember my mom moving to the UK and she was going to study and she would leave me and my two brothers alone. So we have to look after ourselves to some extent when we come back from school. And I had to kind of try and come up with something, basically, at least feed my little brothers. So yeah, no, great to hear everything and all your stories. We have put some business details or contact information for all our speakers today. As I mentioned earlier, Edna is not here, so we have a slightly different twisted battle of jollof, which is vegan versus traditional, or Nigerian, should I say, actually. And our order of things today, basically, we will do the demonstrations, but before the demonstration, Maggie will give us a flavor of exactly where the jollof rice, or the original jollof rice, or the historical significance of jollof rice. And please feel free to ask any questions. We have the ask a question section on the bottom. So if you have time, if you want to, take a story, anything that you're interested in, you want to find out about something, please feel free. And also, just to not make me feel a bit lonely, I'm from Tanzania. If you want to ask anything about cooking in Tanzania, I'm here.
Okay, we brought Tanzania into it. Okay, so what qualifies me to be the historical expert? I have been cooking like forever. I have to mention this. And I also have been an Essex girl for over 18 years. So we have some things in common here. And I've been cooking, oh gosh, I don't know how long. And I've had many experiences. I've cooked with different people. And I have actually in the past researched jollof rice. I actually was convinced it was a Nigerian institution. That gives you some hint of my background. But jollof rice, or jollof, the word jollof, is supposedly from the Wolof, based on the name of the Wolof Kingdom, which was a 16th century, 14th, 16th century kingdom, and had to do with Senegal and Gambia and that area. And I remember meeting a Gambian lady about 20 years ago, or 20 odd years ago, and she said, oh, I'm telling her about jollof rice. She said, oh, we have this, we call it benachin, and she cooked benachin for me. And benachin there was no meat in it, but she cooked it with vegetables in it. And we had the argument. She said, yep, it came from Gambia. So actually, research and truth be told, James C. McCann, an agricultural historian, actually thinks that it's plausible that jollof came from the Senegalese regions, but the way it's moved around the countries and the way it's come to the West African countries, he thinks that it might have come from there, but was carried by migrants who went through Mali and came through the northern kingdoms and through the Arabs who moved and through Islam. But it's ended up being the great thing between Nigerians and Ghanaians, particularly. I don't think Ghanaian or Nigerian party is complete without some jollof rice. The Gambians, like I said, call it benachin, but the Senegalese call it chebojin. And I've actually made both versions of it. I remember researching to make chebojin because I do pop-up African evenings, and I'm thinking this is like jollof rice. And then I came to realize, yep, that's what they call what we call jollof rice. So there's some basic things with jollof rice, which you'll find out from our cooks today. We have tomatoes, we have onions, we have spices. It's described as a one-pot meal that's stewed or cooked in this red mixture, but I won't give it away. I'll let you find out from those going to cook it. Now, we said the battle of Ghana and Nigeria. There's still a battle. If you go out there is a raging battle. In fact, what surprised me was the singer, Sister Deborah, actually has a music video, a Ghana Jollof, where she's bigging it up and dissing Nigerian jollof. Now, I have to say in this battle here, because there are 3 Nigerians, I'm giving it away. I'm thinking that the Nigerian jollof rice is going to win anyway. Oops. That's not the point. And Fadhili is here to try and be. Yes, he's trying to. Yeah, the moderator. But one of the things as well is that it seems like Nigerians tend to stew their jollof while to start with, and Ghanaians tend to fry their jollof. If there are any Ghanaians on here, you need to speak up now. Okay, there's one other bit of information that I want to give you. It says that it's thought that jollof rice was an accidental creation by a cook called Pendambaye, who was based near the Senegal River. They used to cook with a lot of barley, but there was no barley at the time. There was a shortage of barley, so she decided to use rice that had come in along with tomatoes that had come in at that time with the migrants. And so here we have jollof rice. So there you go. I hope that gives you something to be going on with. There's a lot of information now. The historical context of jollof rice will not be complete without me mentioning that in 2014, Jamie Oliver decided to make jollof rice and put it out there. And I'm telling you, I have never seen Nigerians and Ghanaians so united in jollof rice against Jamie Oliver. There you go.
Did you ever try Jamie's jollof? Jamie's
no, that would be a sin.
Guys. Yeah,
you tried it.
Oh, sorry, Bommy wanted to come in very quickly.
No, I was just wagging my finger, but nah.
No.
Not Jamie's. You should have come to us to teach him how to do it, isn't it, to me?
Yeah, absolutely.
Come to us to teach him how to do the basics, then and go and do his own thing. Yeah.
Fantastic. We're already being asked questions about the cooking ingredients. There's a question about rice, which I don't want to answer because I'm not a specialist. Not in jollof rice. I like cooking other things. So Haley is already asking which type of rice is best for jollof. So I'm going to put that on hold because this is part of the demos that we're going to give. So basically, to kick off the demonstration, maybe we start off with the Nigerian version. No, the vegan version.
It's all Nigerian.
It's all Nigerian version. So I have to say the vegan versus the Nigerian or original version. So over to you, Bomi. Did you hear me, Bomi?
No, sorry.
My apologies. So we are starting off. The battle is starting. And basically, I'm just saying, if you can kickstart us and give us a demonstration of how to make a Nigerian jollof rice.
Okay, there we go. I'm going to ask my assistant to hold up the camera so that you can, see what's going on here. So if you can just tilt. Now, in this pot, can you see the pot? Yes, I think that's fine.
Yep.
I have already started because I know that we don't have time, to go through waiting for the jollof rice to cook till it's finished. So what's in this pot is we start with oil, and that could be vegetable oil, sunflower oil. Mostly we use vegetable oil or sunflower oil in Nigeria to start our jollof rice cooking. Now, we also add a little bit, some diced onion. I have put the diced onion back in the fridge, but the diced onion goes in once you've warmed up the oil a little bit so that you can hear the splash of the onion. What the onion does is it gives it a really, really nice smell, because once you start frying the onion, it caramelizes, so you fry it for a couple of minutes, maybe 3-5 minutes. Once that's done, and it softens it up as well, because you don't really want to be eating the crunch of the onion when you're eating your jollof rice. Then you add the one of the master ingredients, which is the tomato paste or tomato puree, people would call it. So in the pot, we have the oil already, we have the onion that has been frying, and I have the tomato paste that have been frying a little bit. Why I do that, or why most Nigerians do that, and by the way, that was how I was taught. I was taught to cook jollof rice by my mother, and also one of my aunties. Her name is Auntie Molara. She has a hand in teaching me how to cook this. So why we fry the tomato is just to take a bit of the tangy taste out of it, and give it the party, the party smell and taste. So once the tomato mixes with the onion, you are good to go. Now,
quick question about onion. Someone just asked the quantity of onion. Does it matter to how many onions you have?
It doesn't matter. It depends on how much you love your onions, because onion is still going to be included again. That is blended with the tomato, the tomato sauce. So it's I mean, if you're, for instance, you're cooking maybe a cup or 2 cups of rice, then just maybe 2 tablespoonful of diced onion, or a whole onion that you've diced up. That's fine.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's all right. So we then add butter. Now, I know that some people don't, because even in Nigeria, there is a battle of jollof rice, even within Nigeria, because, it depends on how you were taught, how your ancestors, your mother, your grandmother, your auntie, or whoever you live with, it depends on how they've taught you to cook it. And because we have various people from various parts of Nigeria as well, the north, the east, the south, we all cook this differently. But this is how the Yorubas cook jollof rice. So a little bit of butter goes in, which I'm going to add because I haven't added that yet. What that does is it helps to, no matter what type of rice you are using in cooking the jollof rice, it helps it not to stick together. That's the purpose of the butter in it. It's just like you're cooking spaghetti and at the end you put a little butter, but I like to add it to, when this goes along. Now, I'm going to show you the other ingredients that's going to come into this already fried onion, tomato puree, butter, and oil. Because the tomato puree has been frying for a bit, so it's ready for the next ingredient. Now, so what makes up the rest is this bell pepper. That is very important. We call it tatashe in Nigeria. That is an important part. I'm using one because I'm cooking about 3 cups of rice. So one of that. Then we have the bell pepper is actually quite sweet because you can eat it like this without cooking. So we have the long pepper. I'm not sure what the name of this is actually, but we just refer to it as one of the long peppers. Then I also use fresh tomatoes. Of course, the Scotch bonnet has to be part of this because we want the little bit of, it depends on, and with the Scotch bonnet, it depends on how hot you want your jollof rice to be. And then the red or purple onion comes in. This is used for the sweetness of it because it's a lot more tastier than the white one. I like to use both. So all these ingredients here, and not to forget Mr. Ginger. I love ginger, and Nigerians love to cook with ginger as well. I do know that some people use garlic. However, for personal preferences, I don't include garlic in my jollof rice. That can go into sauces, but for jollof rice, I mean, that doesn't go in because I wasn't taught to use garlic. I was taught to use ginger. So all these ingredients they are cut. Also, what's in here is tomato plum. I'm trying to find a tin of tomato plum that I had out. So the tomato plum that you can actually get in supermarket, full tomato plums, I use that as well. So I add that to all the ingredients I had shown you earlier. In it goes into my blender, and this is what I have prepared already. So that has been blended. So that then goes into the mixture of the oil, the tomato puree, and the onions. So that's poured in. That's poured in, mixed to cook. Now, I must also say that when you add the tomato puree to the onion and oil, you have to be there to stir, because if you don't keep stirring it for the 3 to 5 minutes that it's going to cook, it could burn. So, you know, it gives it just the smoky. What you want is, that's the word I was looking for earlier, the smoky taste that Nigerian jollof rice is used. You know, it is known for. So this goes in and then it starts to cook. So we'll have to wait for a couple of minutes. Whilst this is cooking, I can take any questions that comes along.
Thank you, Bomi. There was one question, the type of rice that you use. We're going to come to that later.
Okay, before I go to the type of rice, I've just remembered that I haven't spoken about all the seasoning and the spices that goes into this. Now, there are a couple of spices that we use, but there are two very important ones. And those are thyme. Thyme makes Nigerian jollof rice. When you taste Nigerian jollof rice in any home or any party, and you taste the thyme in it, then you know that's probably one of the, I don't know whether Ghanaian jollof rice add thyme to their rice as well. That tells you that you are eating a Nigerian jollof rice, and curry seasoning as well. So those two has to always be in your Nigerian jollof rice to make it a Nigerian jollof rice. So what I do is I add the spices, probably just about a tablespoonful, which I've measured in here already, with the thyme as well that goes in. This yellow spice here is actually a jumbo. We call it the jumbo chicken stock. Most Nigerians use that as well. We add that. It's chicken stock, but in powdery form. So that goes in the jollof rice just to give it, you know, the taste that you want. Then we mustn't forget about the Knorr cubes. These are Knorr chicken cubes. Some people put Maggi cubes in their Nigerian jollof rice because Maggi is very popular. It's a very popular cube that you use to cook jollof rice in Nigeria as well. So this goes in. I have chosen to use the chicken Knorr cubes. So that is going in. I am using two.
When you're explaining that for me, there's a question about, did you just, with the tomatoes, you blended the tomatoes before, you didn't cook the tomatoes, you just put fresh tomatoes into a blender, right?
Yes, that's a very good question actually, and that was what I meant about the diversity in even Nigeria cooking their jollof rice. Some people like to cook the tomatoes, they remove the skin. I wasn't taught to do that.
I see.
You can imagine that as we evolve and as people grow, they put their twist into the food they're cooking as well. But I have just decided to go, almost the traditional way. We don't remove the skin. Some people cook all of this, after they blended it, they say they cook it down. I feel the reason why they do that is to save time, so that when they add it to the oil and the tomato puree, they don't have to wait for, the pepper mixture, the tomato mixture to cook.
Yeah.
Before they add the rice in. But I am going by the way I was taught and how I cook my Nigerian jollof rice. And that is because this is not going to take time at all. Remember, we're going to add the rice, and the rice is going to cook with all of this. So it's still cooking anyway. Yeah.
So did you say which rice are you using?
Oh, yes. The rice I'm using, I am using... now, we have the long grain rice and we have the basmati rice. Popularly these days, back in Nigeria in those days, it was the long grain rice that was available. And that was what we cooked with. However, things have moved on. We now have basmati. So I am using the basmati rice. It's called Golden Cellar Basmati because it gives a bit more aesthetics in the jollof rice as well when it's cooked, because you see the grains. It's easier to eat as well and easier to swallow. I'm using the Golden Cellar basmati rice.
Just final question, question on my part, and I don't know if Maggie and Tumi wants to come in and ask anything. There's a question about cubes. If you're not a big fan of cubes, of using stock cubes, what can you use instead?
What you can use is adding, because you're not going to eat the jollof rice by itself. You have to eat it with chicken, or you eat it with meat or lamb or whatever it is you're going to. When you cook that, what we do is we boil it, we parboiling. We call it parboiling, where the chicken goes in the pot. You've washed it thoroughly. The chicken goes in the pot. You add a little bit of salt. You add your onion, very important. You add ginger or whatever spice you want to. I am not one to, you have to do this or don't put that in. No, be free. It's not complicated cooking. So the stock from whatever meat you're using, then that can be in place of the cubes. And if you're vegetarian and you don't eat meat or chicken and all of that, then just a little bit of salt is fine. If you don't want to use the cubes, the Maggi cubes or the Knorr cubes, a bit of salt to your taste is okay.
Fantastic. Actually, we might get to hear from Tumi how he does his with and dealing with the stock issue. So, whilst we're waiting for you, Bomi, thank you very much.
Can I just ask?
Yeah. Sorry, please go, Maggie.
So I think somebody asked why you used both jumbo and Knorr cubes. Bomi.
It's a personal preference for me.
Okay.
It's a personal preference, and it's how I have seen my mother, my mom, and my auntie do it, and I like it. I like the taste of it. So yeah, that's why.
As part of the historical context, there are as many different tasting jollof rices as there are people, because our mothers taught us different ways. So yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
And Tumi is going to come on and tell us even more.
Well, he's half Sri Lankan. Sierra Leone.
Yep.
So
wow.
Sierra Leonean twist as well. So over to you, Tumi.
Oh, okay. Oh, brilliant. Hi, everyone. Bumi, it's incredible to see what Bumi does, because it's very, very traditional to the T, and I love it. Absolutely love it. Yeah, I absolutely love it every step of the way. I'm like salivating in my mouth. Ooh, that must taste really nice. Again, I was sort of going to this a bit last minute, so I'm a bit underprepared, but I will go through what I do. And I've got a few ingredients here. Just to run you through mine. I call mine like more of a 3-bean jollof rice because it's vegan. I'll run you through the steps, so similar to me, but mine's more of the way I make mine is more of a street food style of doing it. So very, very sort of quick. You can get it in about half an hour. Right, so I generally start with red and white onions. I haven't got my white onions here. I go with red and white at the same time, just for, I know red onions have a more sort of pungent taste, a more strong taste. And the white onions, I just love onions in general. I chop them up finely into fine sort of cubes. I use vegetable oil personally to start off with. So my ingredients are, to start off with, red and white onions, Scotch bonnets. I also go for green chilies as well. Green chilies. I just a mixture of those because I like to mix things up. My mom taught me a certain way, but I've grown up to sort of I like adapting things. And 2020 as well. Why not? So green chilies and garlic. I start off with garlic. I love garlic. I think the amount of garlic you use is up to you. Depending on your taste, I guess, your palate. Chopped up, all of that sort of. But I start with, heat up the oil, make sure it's fiery to the point that as Fumi said earlier, once you pop the onions in, it's popping off. You smell it straight away. I let that sort of caramelize for about a minute, if that. While I'm stirring, I should probably, sort of go through a few bits with you. While I'm stirring it, and then I'll just talk it through because of time, and then add the chilies and garlic after, and basically that caramelizes. Before all of this, usually if I've got enough time and I'm cooking for mates in the house, and it's not a quick thing, I would chop in fresh tomatoes, garlic and onions again, just those, and chilies in a blender and blend it from scratch and use that. But because it's sort of a quick, I use tin tomatoes, chop plum tomatoes, tin tomatoes straight up. I add that straight into the mix after about 3-4 minutes of frying your onions, garlic, and all that. And that is sort of how I start with. And I add more vegetable oil, so you're more sort of frying the tomatoes rather than cooking it. So turn up the heat and keep stirring. As Bumi said, it just sticks straight to the bottom. Add a bit more vegetable oil if it's sticking, just in bits. And generally cook the tomatoes until the water at the top that has sort of steamed up and it's nice and thick. It's starting to get thick. It's roughly about 10 minutes in. While that's happening, I've got my rice. My choice of rice is this one called Edna. I've tried a few, and I think it's Edna. It's a red sort of. It's long grain rice and matured basmati rice in one. So that's the one I always go for, and it's a combination of both. I particularly, because obviously I'm talking about getting this all done in about half an hour, I use parboiled rice in my jollof. It comes out the same, personally. And so wash the rice, make sure all the sort of starch is off. I usually wash it about 3-4 times. I want to make sure, just wash the rice, drain out the water, more water, that kind of thing. And then I generally parboil the rice for about depending on how much rice, between 8 to 10 minutes. Right.
Just a very quick question about washing the rice. I know we've got this thing, especially Africans, we've got this thing of washing the rice before cooking it. And I remember coming to the UK and I was watching Jamie Oliver, of all people, as well. And basically they would cook rice straight from from the pack, for example, because they don't want to lose nutrients, etc. Is it important to wash even if it comes from the package? I'm just wondering if that applies to all of us here, and if there's a huge importance in that.
I think there is, because my mum, in fact, once mum starts making jollof, right? The first thing you're doing, to me, go and wash the rice. That's the first thing I'm doing in the sink. That's mine, straight away. And then I start chopping while she's getting everything else ready. Straight away, you have to wash. Right. I think it gets out, I think it's the starch at the top, but I think the points I've seen when people haven't washed the rice, it gets a bit sticky, I think, and doesn't like. When I boil rice, just white rice on its own, I boil it sort of just a bit, a quarter of water above the amount of rice you're making, and I cook it to the point that the rice has to stand up. It's perfect. You can turn the pan upside down, and the rice will come out. That's white rice, which people find like it's magic. Sorry.
Sure. Maggie, you wanted to come in?
Yeah, I want to weigh in on the rice. So I consider myself an expert with food, and I've cooked for years. And it's true, we were brought up washing rice. But like someone has said in the chat, the traditional rice back in Africa was very starchy. When you get some parboiled rice, they have been pre-prepared. And so when I give people directions on how to cook, I say, read the instructions. There are some rice you find on the market now that you don't need to wash. I actually say that you begin to wash the nutrients out of them. The more refined basmati rice and all has been parboiled, so yeah, you don't want to do that. But then there are others that it will tell you in the instructions, wash the rice before use.
Can I come in here as well? In addition to what Maggie and Tumi have said, and I agree with Tumi, mothers, how we were taught, you wash your rice, and that's because of what Maggie said, the kind of rice we had, back in Nigeria. Having said that, though, the type of even the basmati rice or long grain rice we use here, and agreeing with Maggie, all the ones I have seen in the shops where we get them, you rinse them. It says on the packet, you rinse them. Now, compared to the ones you might get in the supermarket, in mine, or some of them will also say you rinse, and it will tell you how many times, how to rinse them, whether with hot water or cold water. And some of them you can actually use straight away, and they have been parboiled. So I think that's the reason why we wash our rice, because we still use the kind of rice that needs to be washed a couple of times, because when you start washing the rice, the first couple of water you pour in the bowl, you feel, no, there's no way I would have wanted to cook with this still coming out. We don't bleach it whilst rinsing. We just rinse to get, because most of this rice are maybe grown in Asia, and, so it still needs some rinsing. So like Maggie said, read the instruction on the packet of rice you're going to use, and then go with that. I rinse my rice as well.
Thank you. Tumi, over back to you.
Yeah. So am I. Parboil the rice. I generally do that. So at this point, don't forget we've got the tomato almost frying, because it's got to be on a bit of a high heat with all the onions and garlic. At this point now, I add my spices. So for those of you who don't want to use stock cubes, if you're good with spices, I generally have a combination of, if I use Maggi, which is just a general, it's not even flavored with anything. It's just a general Maggi cube. Like that's the one I've always used right from when I was a child. I would use that, and if you're not going to use that, I use a combination of, depending on your allergies, turmeric, coriander, cumin, and you can also a bit of, definitely, I always add curry powder. A little bit of curry powder, and so you can actually make your own stock in that way. And depending on your taste, I generally would make sure it's nice and tasty. But with the cubes as well. At that point, in the tomato sauce, I'll add all this, and then add my tomato puree. I've got to add tomato puree, but I add it after the tomatoes have sort of I'll keep tasting it to make sure it's down to the tomato base is for me the most important thing in jollof rice. Not even the rice. To get the right taste anyway, you got to get that base down to a T. You know, the base of whatever you're cooking, the tomato, whatever it is, garlic and everything in there. You know, you want to make sure it tastes how you would want it. You know, you want it to taste. Add the salt to taste, and then once the rice goes in, it goes in, and that sort of applies to the taste. But before I get to that point, because obviously there's no meat or fish involved in this, or I usually add beans in them. 3 beans and sweet corn. So for a lot of the time for me, it's black-eyed beans, black beans, kidney beans, and sweet corn. I put all of this over here. Yeah, black-eyed beans, even sweet corn. But usually I actually have fresh ones at home and I soak them, especially the black beans, soak it at home overnight, and I have, especially if I'm making a big batch. And I add that into the paste. Mix it with the tomato paste. At that point, make sure that obviously that it's soaked into the paste and everything sort of, nice and tasty. And at that point, that's when I put the parboiled, don't forget about 8 to 9 minutes, don't overcook the rice, into the paste. And that is pretty much, I'm trying to think of anything else. Time, God, yeah, oh Lord. So when I'm adding the spice, as Guru said, you're absolutely correct. Time is the one thing that, again, Nigerian for me, that I add a lot of time. Over my mixed herbs, over any other herbs I add, the time is the dominant herb, in terms of what I add. And it's so fairly straightforward, and that's pretty much it, I think. Yeah, and let that, okay, right. So jollof rice tends to burn at the bottom. I think it's a lot to do with the tomato and the heat. So, you've had the heat high for the tomato paste. Once you've added the rice down, you want to turn it down to a medium. Don't feel obliged to constantly stir the rice. Give it a bit of time, 4 or 5 minutes, on medium to low heat, and then stir. If it's burning, add a tad bit of oil. Just but for me, it's like depending on what I'm doing, sometimes I use coconut oil just to add a bit of the flavor. But yeah. I let that sort of cook for about another 10 minutes. As the rice is getting towards the point of getting very soft, I turn the heat off and leave the lid on for 5-10 minutes, so it's just simmers on its own, and you'd be pretty much there. I mean, the outcome. I don't know if you want me to show you. Should I show you? Are we showing the outcome of this one?
Not quite yet. Not quite yet. No. I'm going to do the plan for that. I'm just grabbing my fingers. Mm-hmm. Kind of looking forward to what Bom is going to present for us, and obviously yourself. Fantastic. As a meat eater, I'm like, okay, this is fascinating. I'm really definitely want to try your. Yeah.
And usually when I do this, I go with the 3 bean with 3 corn jollof rice, and don't forget the heat. I love the heat of the Scotch bonnet. The sort of Scotch bonnet is just sort of single heat at the back, it's balanced with the sweet corn, so you almost get a sweet effect to it. Sort of. It leaves a nice taste. But then I always have a vegan coleslaw to go with it, which is pretty much the base of the coleslaw is pretty much white vinegar, olive oil, and lemon. 3 things. Balanced rice and 5 plantains, and we're there. That's your vegan jollof right there.
Nice one. Before we do the presentation, one quick question to do with crayfish. I know it doesn't apply so much to you, to me, probably for Bomi. Why? So what's the question again? If I may find it, I've seen some jollof rice recipes that use crayfish, but why are you not using crayfish, for example, yourself, Bomi?
Right. I mean, like Tumi picked out when I was showing how I cook my jollof rice. I do it very traditionally. Back in Nigeria, we did not add crayfish to jollof rice. We added crayfish to vegetable stew. We call it eforiro or efo elegusi, melon seeds. Or add it to beans as well, not to jollof rice. Definitely, it makes it taste lovely. However, because I'm going the traditional way of cooking jollof rice, that's what I do. I've never cooked jollof rice with crayfish. I've tasted it. However, I've chosen to not have that as part of my ingredients, you know, when I cook for friends and family, or when I cook for, you know, for the public as well. So it's not
We'll take issues slightly there. I think we've got only slightly frozen.
not having garlic in my jollof rice. Tumi adds garlic to his jollof rice.
Yeah.
It's the same way I feel about not adding crayfish to my jollof rice. I just feel it doesn't belong. Having said that as well, I mean, times have moved on. I mean, look, we're cooking on TV. We're cooking through a video. So you can add whatever it is you want. You know, it's not, yeah. And
my mum added jollof rice to hers. Added crayfish, sorry, to hers. She definitely added crayfish. Just, you know, sort of grounded crayfish, just a little bit of it. And it's what it does. I don't know. As you say, it tastes lovely for me because this, you know, just this subtle taste of fish, but not like your whitefish or your salmon or whatever. Just a subtle taste of like,
Can I just add something to the crayfish thing? My mum studied catering, different things, and the one time she won she won the prize for cooking the best jollof rice. She used crayfish as a seasoning. She finished cooking it, sprinkled the crayfish on the top, and put the lid on and left it to steam. It was not part of the ingredients that they had presented. So she taught me as well to cook with crayfish. So it is truly, down to preference. But if you're making a vegan version, you obviously are not going to use that.
No.
Yeah. And adding to that, there is a secret ingredient. Well, not a secret. It's not going to be secret anymore now because I will show it. But there is, from what Margaret said, that her mom uses crayfish, and that's what she knows. At the end of not completely at the end, but when you crack and you open it, you prepared it. I always add one ingredient to the jollof rice, and please, I'm gonna grab it up now.
When you're talking about this, we've got very few minutes left.
Miss Maggie.
Maggie.
Instead of using the Maggie cube, this goes in, and this just gives it that, you know, I sprinkle a little bit of that in the rice and then cover it.
Thank you. Tommy.
Can they just quickly show your rice? I think we've run out of time.
Yes, please.
Oh,
when you're showing your
one I cooked earlier. There you go. It's a big pot of jollof rice. Can you see?
We can see that. Fantastic.
So that's it. And then jollof rice does not go without adding the chicken. The chicken has been, we call it pepper chicken, that has cooked. And also it goes with plantain as well. And this is one I've served up because Nigerians eat jollof rice. They have the fried plantain, they have the chicken, and of course the salad, you know, just to make us feel better that, we have a balanced diet.
Wow, Bomi, you're making me hungry. I'm salivating. To me, I'm waiting for you. Then I'll just
and then comes out. My bit. So, I've got a here, which I brought with me. See, and it's got, I don't know if you can see that well, it's got 3 beans in them.
We can't see that so clearly. I need to see that because that one, I'm really liking the ideas.
Let me so give it Jan. Oops, camera. Does you see that better? Actually, I don't know if you can see it.
Oh yes. Oh, I saw that a bit. Yeah.
So a bit more like that. So yeah, you got so because everything is chopped up, up in little bits. You kind of have the beans and everything in there. So from you've got lots of it left. Pick up a sort of flat bread or whatever and make a burrito out of it easily. Exactly, you can push it up quite easily. But I will have plantain as probably the plantain and coleslaw. In my coleslaw, again, I said the vinegar, lemon, and white vinegar, lemon, and olive oil. But I also have sliced apples, Granny Smith apples. So peel a bit with a potato peeler. Just peel it with a potato peeler. Slips of it, just to add that sweetness, and you mash everything up, and you've got this spicy and sweet little. Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah.
Myself, very quick 1 minute just to answer this question. Especially if you're using meat to cook jollof rice, I think this more applies to Maggie and Bomi, if you can answer. But to me, please chip in as well. Very quickly, is it better when you use the oil that you use to fry the meat to cook the rice? Does it taste nicer if you do that?
Yes, that is a very good question. Yeah, if you fried your meat, it's actually better because you already have the juices from the meat in the oil. So that even takes it to another level. I most times grill my meat just for health reasons, but if sometimes I do fry as well. But yes, that is.
Thank you, Bomi. Yes. And as we know, this is a battle, so we're supposed to say, "Hey, this is the winner. This is the winner." But this is not the day for it. I think we're on lockdown. We definitely have time to practice. For me, I'm salivating. Like I said, I want to try both dishes. And how do we call it, Maggie?
Well, before I say how we call it, I have to tell you, this was supposed to be the Battle of Ghana and Nigeria. And even though I'm Nigerian, I have to say that the best tips I learned cooking jollof rice, I really took mine to another level. I learned from Ghanaians. I can't lie. 2 different Ghanaians on 2 different occasions had a great thing. Now, as far as today's battle goes, I have to say, Fadhili, that I loved the idea of the beans and the sweet corn in that. And my son is tending to veganism. So I thought, that's great. And then it reminded me of the benachin that I had with this Gambian, who the only difference was she added cabbage. So for me, I think today I might be swaying, even though I should be on the side. Yeah, I'm going for the vegetarian version. I'm going for vegetarian.
Everyone is becoming vegetarian nowadays, and it's great. And I'm definitely going to try your recipes to me. I'm very much a meat eater. I very much like tradition, so I'm gonna stick to my old Nigerian.
Yeah,
So that's it.
That's terrible. So nobody's won the battle then.
Nobody won the battle. We've got 2 different menus, different ways of cooking, which is fantastic. That's what we want to hear.
Yeah.
But very quickly, we've run out of time. I just want to thank you to all of you for taking part.
Thank you. Nice to meet you all as well.
Thank you all, and nice to meet you, Tumi.
Likewise. Yes, yes,
absolutely. Have a lot to say to each other.
Absolutely. I'm talking a lot from you, definitely.
Yeah.
And finally,
thank you so much, Fadhili.
Thank you. Just to end it, I don't know if you'll be able to hear this. It's a jollof song by Sister Deborah.
Ghana jollof.
Ghana jollof. Guys, take care of yourself.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.